Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Two Grown Men. As usual, Yami in the studio.
Hi, everyone. My name is Olaomi, and tonight we have our brother in the house. Our brother Ade. Yo, what up, bro?
What up?
Yeah, welcome
nice
to Two Grown Men.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I've known you guys for at least 19 years each, so it's good to be on this kind of
minimum.
Let's not carbon ourselves.
No problem. Glad to be on.
Let's not discuss it.
Glad to be on.
Kids that were born when we met that are now having kids themselves.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about the Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. The story is just getting longer and longer, different layers, and we decided to bring our good friend Ade to chime in on the story.
Yes.
So I don't know where we should start from because a lot has happened.
Okay, so thank you guys for having me. And let me just jump in real quick here. Thank you for having me on. I listened to the last episode where both of you had the conversation around the Natasha situation. And I thought let me have this opportunity to bring my own 2 cents into it and probably, dissect it in a little bit, in a different, sort of like a different direction. Like you mentioned I think it was Laomi that alluded to it the last meeting or last conversation. There's so many different layers to it that it's impossible to just look at it from one prism. There's different layers from one angle of the prism. There's many different layers to it. So what I'd like to start with is just, my initial reaction to the initial situation in and of itself. There's a saying that Pete Edochie, one of the great Nigerian actors, said, where he was like, it's only when a fly rests on a man's testicles that you realize that violence is not the answer to every problem. So I think, in my opinion, it's very, very apt in this situation. What was initially a storm in a teacup has exploded beyond all measure, and it's violence. It's taking a sledgehammer to an issue and just bashing the hell out of it, and now it's blown out of proportion. Now, Senator Akpoti was wrong in her reaction, but Senator Godswill Akpabio was wrong in the implementation of it. What he should have done, and I agree with Senator Ogunlewe on his Arise interview, what he should have done is you do the seats arrangements before
It's normal, but it is not when a senator is entering the chamber that you now tell the senator your seat has been changed. It is totally administratively wrong.
Change of the seating before you even get onto the floor. You've already had that conversation with them. That is the norm in the Senate. I assume that's the norm. I haven't been there, but that's what I understand to be the norm. Once you bring her out and she has that situation where she's embarrassed in front of the Senate, then all cards are off. She was also wrong in the way she reacted to it. And I think it's part of the naivety that she has, according to Senator, which I think naivety about it is that if there was any issue that you were having with the Senate president or president of the Senate beforehand, you have your minority leader, you have the chief whip, and you have other Senate caucus members that you could have gone to and expressed these sort of like your reaction, your concerns, the fact that you're not being heard, the fact that whatever allegations you had with him or towards him, that should have been addressed before through the proper channels. Now, maybe she did, maybe she didn't, I don't know. But if she had, then that point of having that initial confrontation shouldn't have happened. And what has exacerbated it more is the fact that she's escalated it to a level. When I said before that you don't put a sledgehammer to everything. When he decided, or when the Senate decided that it was time for them to suspend her, which in my opinion is completely wrong. No senator has the right to suspend another senator. I don't care what that happened. You didn't elect her. You're not an you're not responsible for her constituency. You don't have, in my opinion, the right to suspend the senator. It has happened before, even in the House of Assembly. I don't remember if the House of Representatives 5 times. Yeah, you remember even in the House of Representatives, the representative who started the whole padding issue. Remember the budget padding issue? I forget his name now; it escapes me. But he was also suspended, and I thought that doesn't make any sense. But that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is that they don't have the right to suspend. In my opinion, they don't have the right to suspend her. But when you retaliate, with something and escalate it, it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And now it's gotten to a point where Pandora's box is open, everything is out there, and the shit has hit the fan. So it's bad. It's bad on both sides. There should have been caution, and there should have been more restraint on both of their parts. Now they've put everything out there in the public for everybody to see, and I think it's very, very sort of like, it's disheartening to see that our Senate has been reduced to this. She's reporting them in the UK, in this place, in that place. They're talking about recalling her. It's spiraling out of control, in my opinion, and it's something that should have been taken care of in-house. It just shows, in my opinion, the immaturity and lack of, I don't want to say discipline because I don't know them personally, but surely there must be a level of decorum in how you act. And I liken it to the situation that happened between the other senator and Obi-Ezekwesili. Do you remember that confrontation where she said he should shut up his mouth and the guy went ballistic on her? It's the same thing. You people are distinguished members of society. I mean, you're a distinguished senator. There's a reason why they call you distinguished senator. Because you're a distinguished person. You're supposed to act with a little bit more decorum. So I don't like the fact that they've aired a dirty laundry out there, and I don't like the fact that it's escalated to a point where it's become public knowledge and everything is going on. But what my concern is where does it end? So 2 or 3 days ago, Senator Akpoti was going to Kogi State to react to this whole recall thing, right? And then she had this, she didn't call it a rally, but she had this thing where people from her constituency came to her house and she said she was doing some kind of Salah thing and all that stuff. You see, when you are dealing with people who are trying to put you in a bad position, you have to be careful in how you navigate those landmines. Imagine a situation where, and I think some of I think it was the secretary to the government of Kogi State or whoever it was on Arise News, I watched him where he was talking about, imagine a situation where the supporters of Senator Akpoti were in her house and another group of supporters came into that premises and it caused a ruckus and it caused wahala and some people died or something happened and maybe people got hurt or all those kind of things. Nobody's going to remember the fact that it was supposed to be a peaceful event. What they will remember is the fact that somebody or something happened, and you could end up, in my opinion, Senator Akpoti, you could end up putting yourself in a bad situation. The Kogi State government said they are putting a ban on certain things. She says she didn't violate any laws, which technically is correct. But my opinion is if you continue down that path, you are setting yourself up for a situation where you could get into a criminal issue. Be it violating some of the state laws, be it having some kind, like I said, somebody getting hurt or something happening. In which case, the court of public opinion will not remember the fact that you feel like you were wronged. Or not even the court of opinion, the court of law won't recognize the fact that you feel that you were wronged. It will be the fact that did you break the law, yes or no? I want to liken it to an example. It's a very, very loose example, and people should not, I'm not comparing the two situations at all, please. MK Abiola, when he won election in 1993, was goaded by certain people to get on a stage and declare him president of Nigeria. And that was what they used to put him in prison because he violated the law. It's a treasonable offense. He was rightfully elected as the president. He had the entire mandate and everything. But what he did that, if he had continued along the path of just talking about it, doing all those kind of things, perhaps that would not have been an issue. But the fact that he went that extra step and, declared himself president, broke the law. So I'm likening it to whatever is going on with Senator Natasha, is that, look, be careful. People will give you, especially if they're trying to get you, they will give you a long noose for you to hang yourself on. And
give you bad advice, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you are one of those people that is like, you know what, yeah, I'm listening to the crowd, yeah, I'm doing all, she went on stage and she was yelling and she was saying a lot of inflammatory stuff. Yeah, it's defamation, but it's still not, it's not a criminal offense, so to speak. It's a civil offense. But putting yourself in those kind of situations, the tendency is for it to end up in something that may be detrimental to you than good. And you may be 50-50 in the court of public opinion now. Some people are on your side, some people maybe not be on your side. But if you get into the court of law, wow, there's little or no wiggle room for you. So my advice is, let's figure out a way to settle this down and put this in a better position. Let's talk to ourselves and resolve this. I think, Laomi, you mentioned earlier, this thing has happened with Senator Godswill Akpabio and Senator Bukola Saraki, but they figured out a way to resolve it. Yeah. This is becoming more than it should be, and it's not a good look.
You know, I want to say something there. First of all, she's not giving strategic. She's not giving off strategic vibe. She's not giving you the vibe of someone that can see a big picture and navigate her way around a big picture. Okay. We're playing emotions. We're sort of using being led by emotion further down a rabbit hole.
Exactly.
But I want to start somewhere. I'm actually going to I think we need to knock the Senate for something. And in Senator Ogulera's interview, it was very clear. He said certain things. You're not supposed to move somebody's seat without giving them prior notice. Okay?
Exactly.
Before the sessions, call them on the phone the night before and say, listen, and Senator Akpabio's incident should have been the precedent that taught us a lesson, that perhaps this issue of seat should be resolved off air and should be resolved ahead of sessions. So whoever is in charge of it, the sergeant at arms or whoever it is, should have called whomever's having their seats reassigned. Send them a letter, call them, explain it to them, smooth it out. You're the civil servant in charge of the administration of the Senate or the National Assembly. For God's sake, manage it. So the senators have a job to do. You have a job to make it possible for them to. You are facilitating them doing their jobs. And that means minimizing areas of potential conflict. And this has happened once before, where there was an issue over a seat. Therefore, it should not recur. If we're a nation of people that learns from the past, if we learn from our history, then we should already know that. And these are people with massive egos, right? They're senators of Nigeria.
That's where I say the problem with the Senate minority leader or her caucus leader or whoever it is. That's where that conversation should have been had before you even get to the floor.
Yes.
Now, if that has happened and we're not aware of it, that's a different matter completely. But if it has happened, and even with that, this has escalated to this level, then what that tells me is that there's too much going on, that it's becoming too drastic and it's too much in the atmosphere. It's too much and it's not a good look. Honestly, it's really not a good look. We've got to figure out how to solve that thing properly. That being said, I would like to segue into something that you guys touched on the last episode, and perhaps it's something that sort of drove me more into this thing, into having this conversation, which is that, you see, there's a larger debate at play here.
Okay.
See, it's part of what I call this the oppressed becoming the oppressor syndrome. Senator Natasha Akpoti doesn't strike me as the kind of person that is a passive human being. She's a very, very aggressive, she's strong-willed. I mean, you can't go against Kogi State government and run for governor and be this popular and then get to the senator level without having some kind of backbone or some kind of strength behind you, some kind of aggression. She doesn't take things lying down. And I know the people who probably listen are probably going to think, "Hell, this guy is going with the whole women thing." No, I'm saying that you and I have seen or have interacted with people who have that kind of personality, where it's a very, very strong personality. It's the kind of personality where if you wrong me, I'm going to get my 2 pounds of flesh. There is no in between within that kind of. She strikes me as that kind of person. And there's a boxing adage that says your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. I think because she has that strength of being that kind of personality, it doesn't lend itself to somebody who is willing to say, "Hey, let's cool the temperature down a little bit here." Because, again, like I said before, I don't know if I'm a kind of paint, and I'm talking just off of my, knowledge of whatever it is about politics I know. She strikes me as the kind of person that doesn't get the sense that there is an easier way, or there is another way to do things. And you're successful with the way you've been doing things all your life. You're very, very aggressive. So that sort of builds that mentality in you that it's difficult sometimes to reverse that trend. You remember, you and Laomi mentioned, again, I mentioned earlier, Senator Akpabio had the same issue with Senator Saraki, but they had a conversation about it. He apologized, everything went down, and everything went sort of tapered down. I don't get the sense that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is the type of person that has that personal temperament. Now, it's not because she's a woman. Please, I'm not saying that because she's a woman, because men also have that same temperament. There's some men that are exactly that same way. But I think that is also what is fueling this drive. Let me give you another example. She said, for instance, she said, there's this recall process, quote unquote, going on where they're trying to recall her. And then in response to that, she did this quote unquote rally thing where she got her people to show a strength of show of force. If I'm an advisor, I'm telling her, look, let's get our own people to sign another petition and present that in front of INEC, or present that in front of the board, or present that in front of whoever it is that is going to be the review board that is reviewing whether or not she should be recalled. We can do a door-to-door campaign where we get signatures from all of the people in our own constituency that can sort of expose the idea or drive that they are having to sort of recall her. But rather than look at it that way, which is a more strategic, thought-minded way of looking at it, you just go and have this massive quote-unquote rally. I'm not going to say it was a rally, but you have this massive show of force, because I think you have this mentality of you do me, I do you, God no go vex. But it doesn't bode well for you, because it doesn't, in my opinion, give you the validation or the verdict in the court of public opinion. There are people that are looking at you and saying, hey, you're just doing the same thing they would do. Why are you acting like them? If they're going low, you're just going lower. And you are throwing mud, going to the IPU, going to the UK, going to do that one. You have the courts. There is no court in Nigeria that is going to allow a sitting senator to be suspended. It is not possible. They don't have the right. Go to court. Why are you shouting on Arise News? Why are you shouting on this one? Why?
Exactly.
It's part
why are you at the UN? What is the UN going to do? Are they going to recolonize Nigeria? Are they going to flog Akpabio? Are they going to come and flog Akpabio?
But you see, allow me. But you see, allow me. That's my point. When I say she strikes me as that personality that is a you do me, I do you, man, no go vex sort of person. Whatever you do to me, I'm going to do right back to you. And it has worked for her because
I will shout. Yeah,
it has worked for her because, like I said, she ran the Kogi State governorship race down to the wire. She was right there with the what's his name? The guy that just left. What's his name? I forget his name now.
Yaya Bello.
She was right there with him. She got to the senatorial seat. So she's had success with that sort of, I don't want to use the word machismo, with that sort of
so
it goes back to my previous point, which is that because you are that sort of personality, if I'm your opponent and I see that kind of person you are, I'm going to set a trap for you, especially which is what the Kogi State government, in my opinion, was trying to do. By saying, oh, you can't do this rally, you can't do that, you can't have a procession, you can't do this one, you can't do that. Just to find a way to put you on the other side of the law.
She was asking for she was asking to be set up, really, because they'd said don't hold a rally. You now hold that rally, and like Yemi said, or the SSG said, if the state government really wanted to get her, all they had to do was send some thugs to disrupt the program.
Exactly.
That's all they needed to do. Send 100 thugs to disrupt the program, and suddenly you have a riot, and suddenly you have dead people. And then they call Senator Natasha and say, Senator Natasha, you were told to not have a political rally. And sometimes it's common sense. The polity is heated. The environment is quite heated. It's quite volatile right now. Madam, please do not hold a rally. It's not everything that goes against you that's targeted to harm you. Don't hold
That's
the
my
rally.
point.
Doesn't mean we're trying to disenfranchise you. We're just saying that the polity is very hot right now. On one hand, there are people trying to recall you. There's a recall process in motion. You now bring your supporters out in direct opposition to that recall process. You're asking for a battle. In a nation where there are guns and whatever it is, imagine that just 5 people got killed. Suddenly she's hauled before a judge on murder charges. And then she says, well, they want to get me. They're setting me up. But the truth of the matter is that even if they're setting you up, must you walk into the trap? Can you not see? Do you not have people in your corner who are thinking with you? You don't have a think tank? He's giving market women. He's giving markets. He's just giving. And that's even an insult to market women. Because all over the world, market women have been instrumental in driving change.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Fumila Ransom Kuti and the the Abekota women's riots. Strategic.
So, and okay, so here's where I sort of want to now take it on another tangent again.
Mhm.
So the past 10, 15, however many minutes of this conversation, it seems like we're focusing in on, or I am focused, I wouldn't say we, I am focusing in on Senator Natasha, what she should have done, what she shouldn't have done. And almost it seems as if I'm absolving Senator Akpabio of any sort of blame or responsibility. That is not the case. That is not the case at all. I am saying, first of all, if you want to fight them and win the court of public opinion, don't fight the way they do. That's where I'm going with Senator Natasha. But I now want to take it to a larger picture. So remember when I said before that Peter Dochi's statement about it's not where anytime you see whenever there's it's not every time that
Fly on the testicle.
you smash it with a hammer. Senator Akpabio's reaction is similar to the other senators' reaction to Obi Ezekwesili. And it leads me to another thought, which is Nigeria is a very, very, if it's the right word, it's a chauvinistic society. It's male-centric, it's male-dominated. There is a question around whether or not his reaction would have been similar if it was a man. And again, if the man's response would have been the same. I'm interested to hear Ope's thoughts.
Yeah, Ope, what is your take? We discussed earlier about Senator Natasha and Senate President Akpabio. So moving the conversation now around just men and women in Nigerian society or in society in general. What is your take?
Honestly, I like to always shy away from this topic. Honestly. Because it's always a power tussle topic. And one party always wants to understand why this party is the power over me and wants to be equal. And for me, I think there's bias in their equality because you want to be equal, but you cannot be equal on all levels. At the same time, you want to take certain things that you are not. Take, for instance, if you want to be equal, which is fine, I'm yet to find a woman that will go and when there's when there's a PhD in wahala in your community, and they will call a woman to go and climb the pole to get that thing done. You don't be equal where it's convenient alone for you. Take it to head on. I'm yet to find a woman that will go and do the drain dogs. And you want to show your equality. It's fine, honestly. But the truth about it is that when you speak truth to power, in this on this topic. The feminist side will always come for you regardless of what you say.
See, sorry, okay, that's exactly where I'm going with it. It's that when if you don't try to understand where somebody who has a different view from you is coming from, you are not going to be able to have a fruitful conversation at the end of the day. With this whole women empowerment thing, which again I think is a good thing. There's always not a consequence, but there's an other side to that argument or that movement. Everything that happens has an equal and opposite reaction on the other side. The other side of it is that men will end up feeling like you are vilified if you say, for instance, oh, a woman is this, that, or whatever. A woman shouldn't talk to me that way or whatever, without trying to understand why that man thinks that way. And what I was trying to get at was, if I want to, I'm not absolving Senator Akpabio of anything. He may be a male chauvinistic pig who grabs women by the pussy. He may be the kind of guy that does all the things that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar alleged that he does with the women. I understand it's possible. I don't know him personally. But I'm trying to understand why he would react that way. And what
Natasha.
Yes. And what I thought was that let us put aside the fact that he may be a chauvinist. Let's put that aside.
Small ego.
Could it also be because no, could it also be because
big ego. Big ego.
Yeah.
Sorry, big ego.
Could it also be because he grew up in a time, or he has that mentality of a time where there wasn't an equality? It was the male-dominated society. And as such, adjusting to the new societal norms is going to be harder for someone like him than it would be for me. I still have to adjust to it. There are times when my wife will say something to me, I'll be like, how can you talk to me? I'm the man. Then I have to realize, no, society has shifted. And I'm even at the tail end of it. My son is probably not going to experience it the same way, because by the time he's growing up in a society where he's seeing that, no, society has come to a position where men and women it's not a male dominant society anymore. I won't say they're equal, but it's not a male dominant society anymore. And as such, by the time he grows up, these issues may not be as prevalent in his mind. Whereas for me, it's something that I'm still dealing with. And I can imagine for somebody in his 60s like Senator Akpabio, it is harder. And I can imagine for somebody like Senator Oglewe, who is in his 80s, it is even harder. So that's where I'm going, that paradigm shift, depending on when you grew up or what society's norms were around at the time your sort of thoughts and ideas were being formed, that societal shift or adjusting to the new norms is going to take a lot longer for those kind of people than it will be for us. And I will now buttress I'll say my final point. You see, one of the things I always say is that I will never forgive my father's generation, because they're the ones that put us in this situation. They are the ones that used to, for lack of a better word, treat our mothers like crap. They are the ones that would say, no, I'm the one that has the money, you go and do this. They will do all those things, while at the same time raising daughters who saw what they were doing to their mothers. And these are the same daughters that we had to marry. So now the daughters are like, no, bro, I saw what my father did to my mother. There is no way you're going to do that to me. So now I have to adjust to the way they treated their mothers, and they treated those people in the previous generations. I use a typical example, and I'll stop here. Has anybody seen the Notorious B.I.G. movie?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the scene where? Okay. Do you remember the scene where the Notorious B.I.G. character was holding his daughter on his lap? He had just had the accident. His daughter was on his lap, and he was talking to Lil Kim's character on the phone.
I think so. I remember.
They get into an argument, and he yells at her and he says, "You bitch, get off my phone, bitch!" And he hangs up the phone.
And his daughter was in his lap.
He looks at his daughter and he says to his daughter, "Don't ever let a man call you a bitch."